Hi everyone, this is Tyler with Codemoji, and today I'm going to walk you through the HTML expert lesson. So if you are on the student view and you go to learn to code, if you scroll all the way down to expert lessons, it is the very last circle down here at the bottom. The difference between expert and beginner is beginner is really going to focus on using those emojis to code, and expert, the students are going to be able to have the chance to type the actual code they would use if they were building a web page. So first over here on the left, you see that we have the editor and we have our typing area. Over here in the middle, we have our computer screen, and that's where our code's going to show up. And then over here on the right, we have some little black boxes that give us information about what each line of code does. So first, what you're going to do is you're going to type over here on the left using our opening tag, HTML. Every time we code something in HTML, we have to tell the computer, hey, this is where our code is starting, and we have to do a closing tag saying this is where our code is ending. If you notice, if you do not type in the correct code, it will not move you on to the next line. Then we're going to go ahead and do our body tag. This body tag declares where the content and other tags will go. H1 is our header tag, or one of the options you have as a header tag. It represents a smaller header, and then you can go ahead and type in my first header. And then in HTML, you always have to have those closing tags. So we're going to tell the computer, all right, this is where my H1 or my header 1 ends, this is where my body ends, and this is where my HTML ends using those closing tags. So as students progress, it's going to get a little bit more complex, but using those boxes on the right will help students a lot in understanding what the code is actually doing. So next we're going to look at paragraphs. So I'm going to start with my HTML opening tag, my body tag. P stands for paragraph, and then we're going to type in my first paragraph. Our closing tag, closing body tag, closing HTML tag, and then you can see over on the computer screen it says my first paragraph. So when students are typing this, really focus on the fact that if they're typing this into a program, this is the same code that they were using. So it may seem a little repetitive, but it's just super important that students understand the formatting and why we type each line of code the way that we do. Oh, make that lowercase. Do our HTML opening tag. So next is going to be a span tag. So if we look, here's our opening span tag. So span tag is used to group elements together in a document. And then we're going to do our closing span tag, our closing body tag, and our closing HTML tag. And this says, okay, my first span. Next we have block quotes. It's kind of an extension of the quotation marks. So we're going to do our opening tags, block quote, my first block quote, our closing block quote tag, then over here we have our first block quote. Block quote. Next we have our strong tag. It's very similar to bold. So instead of typing bold like you would in CSS or something similar, here you can go ahead and just type in strong. So we're going to type in my first strong, and then we do our closing tag, closing body tag, closing HTML tag, and then you can see it's bolded. Next we're going to do italics. Just like we do in writing, right? It's going to be a little slanted. Opening tags. And for italics, we're just going to put the lowercase I. Closing italics tag. And if you noticed earlier, I misspelled italics, and it will not let the students move on without saying or typing the exact code that needs to be in the editor. All right, so if you could see here, you could see how the words are a little slanted. This is when students start really getting excited because they're like, oh my goodness, I am actually coding. I'm using that same code that I would use in another program. So next we're going to talk about images. So the SRC stands for source. So what you're doing is you're telling the computer where you're going to get your image from. So in this instance, we already have some preloaded images on codemoji.com, but if you're using a different type of program, you would insert the image a couple of different ways. So for the sake of this tutorial, we're just going to use the lion image that's already preloaded, but just know that the world is your oyster and there's many different ways to add many different images, but you do have to tell the computer where you're getting that image from. So now I'm going to do my closing tags because I said this is my image source. This is where I'm going to get my image from. So I'm going to go ahead and do my closing tags. And then you can see I have a little lion right there. So next we're going to do links. Just like a hyperlink, a link to a web page. And this might be a point in the code where you're going to show the students where those keys on the keyboards are, where the apostrophe, the forward slash are. By this point, they should already know where the essentially the less than and greater than symbols are on the keyboard, but this might be a good opportunity to show them where the equal sign is and where some of those other keys that are not so commonly used are. So when we add the link, this is an example of the code that you can use to insert the link. So we're going to go ahead and type in my first link. We're going to do our closing tag, our closing body tag, our closing HTML tag. And then if you look, we're just going to use a link that's on the on the Codemoji webpage, and it links to the Codemoji webpage. Again, when you're doing this in another program, you'll be able to add links from many different sites, but this is just so the students understand the formatting and the structure of the code. Next, we're going to look at audio. Again, we're going to use audio that's already preloaded into Codemoji. However, in the future, when they're ready to do some of these things a little bit more independently, they can add audio from different places. So the audio source for this audio is already preloaded into Codemoji. And when you hit that play button, you'll be able to hear some siesta music. So next we're going to look at videos. We're going to see how we can add a video into our code. So we're going to type in where we're going to have our video source, where are we getting our video from. Very similar to the image and the audio code where you have what you're doing, whether image, audio, or video. Then you have source, you have the equal sign, and then you have that apostrophe. So we're going to add some video about, looks like skate. Very cool. Of course, students don't have to view the whole thing, but it is really fun to know that they can upload videos to their code on their web page. So next we're going to look at maps. So we're going to go ahead and do our opening tags. Then this is very similar to the image and video and audio. You have to tell me what it is. So first we're going to say map. We're going to look at a place. We're going to do our equal sign, our apostrophe, and for this situation, for this example, we are going to do Germany. And then you can see on the map, we have Germany right here. And they can zoom out, they can play a little bit with the map. Next, we're going to look at breaks. So breaks is essentially like a space or a line break in their code. So we're going to add that image source. We're going to bring back that lion picture. Then we're going to do a break. And then we're going to have a panda. So what we're going to see is we're going to see what that break tag does in between the lion and the panda images. And of course, we have to do our ending tags or our closing tags. Okay, my image did not quite load correctly. That's okay. So essentially what it would be is it would be a space in between those two images. So next we're going to learn about div tags. So divs are used to close, it's a division in the HTML document. So division, my first div, closing div tag. Then we're going to do another one. And then we're going to have, so we're going to have my first div, then we're going to have a division, and then we're going to have that image. Don't know if we're going to be able to see the lion because my computer was not able to load the last image, but let's take a look. And then our closing div tag. Again, so essentially what there would be is a space in between my first div and the image. So next we're going to look at list. Lists are super important for web pages because maybe you need to give steps to a recipe. Maybe you need to, I'm a teacher, so sometimes we have to give out lists to students or school supply list, and that needs to get posted on a website. So lists are just a super important part of web pages. So that UL stands for unordered or bulleted list. And then we have our LI, which tells the computer like this is a list item. Then I always have to do my closing, and then I'm going to say, okay, here's another list item. All right, I'm done with that list item. And now I'm done with my unordered or bulleted list. And I'm doing all my closing tags. So if you notice, I'm doing it in the same order. So if I go HTML, body, UL, LI, then I'm going to do LI, UL, body, HTML when I'm doing my closing tags. So now we can see that we have a bulleted list on our computer screen over here. Next, we're going to do an image list, opening tag, opening body tag, unordered or bulleted list. So this is a list item. So we're going to have image source, lion.png. Oh, add an extra period over here. Then we're saying, okay, I'm done with that list item, but now I'm going to add another list item, and the next item on my list is going to be the cat. Then I'm done with that list item. I'm done with my unordered or bulleted list. I'm closing my body, and I'm done writing my HTML code. So now you can see you have a little bullet right here. So I have my my lion, and then I have my cat in this order, but it's just not numbered. It's bulleted. So next we're going to look at a cat list. So let's do our opening tags, our body, our bulleted or unordered list, and this is my first list item. So I'm going to make a cat list. I'm done with my first list item. I'm going to add another list item, and this list item is going to be an image, and that source is from the cat image that's already preloaded into Codemoji. I'm done with that list item. I'm moving on. I'm done with my unordered list. That's why I'm doing my closing tag, my closing body tag, and my closing HTML tag. So you can see the first item is cat list, and the second item is that cat image right here. Next, we're going to look at a header in list. So of course, I'm always going to do my opening tags. Header 1, remember, is that smaller header, but the H stands for header. So websites are cool. That's kind of like my title, my header. Then I'm going to tell the computer, I am done writing my header. Now I'm going to go ahead and start writing a list. And this is my first list item. They are fun. Then I'm done with my first list item. Here's my next list item, and easy to make. I'm done with that list item. I am done with my unordered or bulleted list. I am done typing in my body, and I am done writing an HTML code. So now you can see how the header is a little bit different than the list that we are making. So next we're going to look at paragraph links. We're going to do all of our opening tags, our header, And I'm going to say I am done with my header. So now here is where I'm going to type my paragraph. So this is a link to my dashboard. Then I'm going to say, here is the link. This is what I want you to link into my web page. Oops. Link. This is the end of my link, the end of my paragraph, the end of my body, and writing my closing tag. So this is a link to my dashboard. Then I have the link, and it would typically go to the Codemoji link. So next we're going to look at text input. So we have our opening tags, and we're going to tell the computer what type of information we are inputting. So we are going to input text. The type is text. Closing body tag, closing HTML tag. And so this is just saying this, when I'm going to input something, I'm going to input text. So it's like a similar to like a password or a username box, or when you type in like a Google form, it says, what is your name? That is very similar to what we just created now. So now we're going to look at Larry the Lion. So we have our opening tags, our header, that's our title, the lion. Nope, spelled Larry with too many R's. There we go. Done with my header. I'm going to tell the computer where I'm getting that image from. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make this a list item. And I'm done with that first list item. Now I'm going to make another list item. And I'm done with that list item. Done with typing in my body, and I'm done typing in HTML for this section. So I have my title, my header, then I have that image, and then I have my bulleted list down here. So next we're going to talk about password input, kind of like what I mentioned earlier. So even when you're going onto the Codemoji website and you're typing in your username and password, this would be very similar to the type of code you would use for that. So the input type is password. So originally we just did text, but now we can actually enter the data. And so this would be our password. And if you notice, it's a little bit different than the text that we did earlier, because the text that we did earlier showed what you were typing, but because this is a password, you want that hidden. So it's just shown in little dots. Next, we're going to look at the text area. We're going to do our closing tag, body, and HTML. And if you could see, this is our text area. These little lines allow it to get bigger and smaller. So it's almost like a text box saying, this is a designated text area. This is where text is going to go. So next we're going to look at bold and italic again. And remember, in HTML, we use the synonym as strong instead of bold. And we're saying, okay, this is going to be strong, this is going to be italic, and you notice how it's on two separate lines. And then I said bold and italic, and then I'm going to, because the I was the last one I typed, the closing italic I is going to be the first one that I type when I'm doing my closing tag. So I'm going to do my closing strong, closing body, closing HTML, and then you can see that my words are both bold and italic. Next, we're going to learn how to do underline. Just like when you see in a document or on Google Docs or whatever you use, you can use that underline feature. So in HTML, you can just use a lowercase u for underline text. And then we're going to do our closing tag saying, I'm done underlining. I'm done with my body. I am now finished typing in HTML, and you can see the underlined text is right here. Next, we're going to look at different styles. So let's go ahead and let's see what different styles we have. We have strong, which is bold. So we're going to make some text that is bold, italics, and underline. doing all of our closing tags. Super important that students know the structure and organization, and you can see that it's bolded, it's italic, and it's underlined. And we have completed the Expert HTML lesson. I hope this video was useful to you. Happy coding!